Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for Sophos MDR for MSPs webinar. My name is Sean Day, and I'm the business manager here for Sophos at TD SYNNEX. And today I'm joined by my colleague Brandon Mithridas, who is our MSP specialist, Tim Swainson, one of Sophos' senior MSP CAEs, and Bradley Collis, who is one of Sophos' senior SEs. Today, we will look at how Sophos' MDR service can bolster your service offering and how TD SYNNEX can support you driving your MSP business. We do have some dedicated time for Q&A to wrap up the webinar, but please drop any questions you have in the Q&A box as we go along. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Brandon to kick things off.
Thanks, Sean. Hello, so my name is Brandon. I've worked at TD SYNNEX for just under 6 years, covering a variety of roles within account management and solution building across various vendors TD SYNNEX provide. Over the last year, I've been a part of the security team, focusing on supporting MSP partners and software solutions. Alongside this, I want to highlight our business development team, including Sean, who just did the intro, who's the business manager, Luke, Lewis, and myself, who are dedicated to being your points of contact and provide support at TD SYNNEX for anything Sophos related. We do have a team email, which you can use as well to reach all of us on. And that email is ukisophos@tdsynnex.com. Moving on to the next slide, please. Further resources include a dedicated internal sales team consisting of 10 sales members and 5 members in our operations team who solely work on the Sophos side of things. The internal teams perform to a 4-hour SLA, of which 94% of the requests meet and are actioned successfully. This includes quoting, deal registrations, and NFR. The teams offer late cover on month end and quarter end until the final orders have been processed to ensure no deadlines are missed and critical business does not lapse into a new month to keep in line with monthly target billings. Alongside our internal team, we have a trained technical pre-sales team who are fully enabled to deliver our health checks. The technical team are also able to provide a demo of Sophos' full portfolio, assisting in creating solutions for your customers and advise on which products will be best offered from a technical standpoint. This is a good moment to remind you that the partner status compliance will expire at the end of this month, and I would urge you to prioritize this. And if there is any training or accreditation support, the technical team will be more than happy to assist you with this as well. If you are ever in need of these services, please reach out to myself or the team, and we can get a call scheduled for you to discuss your opportunity and solutions in depth. Next slide, please, Bradley. The final offering, which I would like to showcase to you all, is our centralized cloud marketplace platform called StreamOne Ion. It acts as a one-stop shop for accessing a wide range of cloud services, including Sophos, on which partners like yourselves can browse, purchase, and provision cloud services. We have had an amazing feedback from the partners who are currently utilizing the benefits of StreamOne Ion, especially around the automation of billing. The platform integrates this into a simplified subscription management process, allowing you to efficiently track customer usage, costs, and account statuses. You are also able to access and download your usage reports once available directly from the platform. I've only mentioned a small percentage of what is possible with the platform, but in the interest of time, if this is something which you believe you can benefit from, please get in touch with me or we can schedule a call to go through the StreamOne Ion platform in more detail to see if it's a right fit for your business. With that, I will now pass it over to Bradley from Sophos, who will give you an overview of Sophos. Over to you, Brad.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, Sean, as well. Thanks for having us on this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for spending the time with us to run through how you as managed service providers and you as technical experts for your customers can enhance and expand on what you guys are doing when it comes down to managed services, and how Sophos and TD SYNNEX, of course, can work with you to help bolster that. So a little about me. I'm Bradley. I'm a solutions consultant at Sophos. As was mentioned before, I sit in our global managed services team, so I deal with all things MDR and incident response and managed risk. And as you guys will be aware, we've recently purchased SecureWorks, so there's a whole load of SIM and next-gen convergence that's going on there in the background as well. I've been at Sophos for nearly 11 years. I spent a chunk of that time in tech support. I spent that chunk of that time as a UK sales engineer. And now I sit in this global oversight as part of the global managed services team. For those of you that are new to Sophos and those of you that maybe need a bit of a refresher on who we are and where we've come from, we've been around for about 30 years at this point in time. We started in Abingdon in the UK, and we started, and most of you probably know us for our endpoint security solutions, maybe our encryption solutions. We've been on a journey since then to move through and build up our customer base to where we are today. So we currently have approaching 500,000 Sophos endpoint customers. Across our entire customer sets, we have about 600,000 customers. We have 29,000 customers utilizing our MDR services as well. By number, that makes us the biggest MDR provider on the planet. There's two sides to that. First of all, it means that you guys partnering with TD SYNNEX and Sophos means you are partnered with one of the biggest security titans in the industry, and you're also partnered with one of the most experienced MDR providers as well. Meaning, if you're looking at how you can develop your managed services, you've got a really good resource in Sophos at being able to utilize those tools to be able to expand those security offerings for your customers. We've been on a journey to get to this point. It didn't start overnight. As you'll see, we started this early in sort of late in 2019, where we've grown by acquisition. We acquired a couple of companies to deliver, first of all, the platform through Dark Bytes, and then also the SOC team from Rook Security. And in December 2019, we released MTR, which was our first managed service offering. As you'll see, over time, we've grown significantly in customer numbers. If we look at customer numbers today, we're approaching 29,000. With the acquisition of SecureWorks, that is only going to increase further. And we've acquired point technologies through this phase to actually be able to deliver this solution en masse, on scale, and with expedient response times to our customers. This has grown through a few different layers. So we focused primarily early on in making sure that we had really good tools for our customers and our MSPs to be able to use to deliver services. Things like EDR, things like XDR, things like Sophos Central for you guys that have been utilizing Sophos before, our one pane of glass management console. We then bundled that up in a service. We wrapped that up in Sophos MTR, which then evolved into Sophos MDR. And then we started looking at how we could bring in integration with other third parties, so third-party email solutions or Microsoft or third-party endpoints for customers that wanted to use those. We're moving through to more managed security solutions. So managed risk is something we're focusing on quite significantly now, which is powered by Tenable and is an attack surface monitoring solution. At this point in time, unfortunately, it's not available on MSP Flex, so it's not available on the monthly MSP program. That is coming in Q3 this year for you to be able to package this up, sell this as an MSP service to your customers as well. And the plans are endless, obviously, with SecureWorks coming on board. Our managed operations offerings are only going to increase over time. So primarily what we hear about out of all of that is Sophos MDR and how you guys can package that up and the extra uplift and benefit it's going to give your customers. So Sophos MDR is a fully managed service managed by our own SOC team. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have 500 or so security experts who are going to be sitting behind the scenes and doing detection and response and investigation and monitoring across any customer with the MDR solution in place. And there's a really good reason for this. If we look at the analyst workspace, obviously Gartner being one of the key analyst groups, by the end of this year, they expect that about half of organization will be using managed security services to enhance and increase the security monitoring footprint. The reason for that is any of you guys that have been operating in the security space, or obviously any of you guys that have been working with customers who are coming to you with challenges, the threat landscape is scary, really, at this point in time. If we look across the landscape and we look across at the wide variety of threats that customers and obviously managed providers like themselves are having to deal with, it's a lot for anyone to manage. So if we go around here, obviously ransomware, still the big ticket item, still the biggest threat that we see day in, day out on our incident response teams, which I work on, and obviously as part of our managed security offerings as well. This is not going to change. Ransomware is big business, and the attacking groups we're dealing with are incredibly professional cyber criminal organizations, often backed up by nation state in some situations in Eastern Europe, and obviously making an awful lot of money out of attacking and dealing and damage to your customers. Some things we've seen change is data theft. So if we look at Europe and we look at all the rules and regulations coming in, we have to think about GDPR and NIS 2, and these other government level regulations that are coming in to protect customers and end users' data. We are seeing attacking groups pretty much always stealing data from customer estates. That may lead to ransomware as well. It may not be a ransomware scenario and may purely be a data theft scenario. Regardless, that customer is then in trouble, and that customer has then got 72 hours to report that to the ICO or whatever information commission in their jurisdiction. These things need to be monitored. These things need to be understood, and these things need to be responded to either by a customer if they're managing their own IT estates, or if you guys are providing managed security services to this customer, it may very well be that the responsibility to respond and report these actually falls to you guys. So if you haven't got a solution in place to actually deal with this and monitor what's going on, you may very well find yourself in a very sticky situation with some of your customers when they come to you and say, we've been hit by ransomware. You guys are offering a managed security solution. Why didn't you see it? Why didn't you deal with it? Additionally, I'm not going to go through all of these. A real key thing we're seeing is nowadays attackers, yes, they're still going to break in and they're still going to be hacking in with vulnerabilities and all this sort of very highly technical stuff. The vast majority of attacks we see use completely legitimate credentials. So an attacker finds an open access gateway, RDP or VPN or something, and just logs in because a user's been phished, a user's been socially engineered, a user's using a weak password. And again, these things need to be monitored. Identity solutions need to be monitored. You need to understand what's happening in that customer estate from a user perspective to be able to do anything about it. And that's a lot to manage. Look, attacks are getting more complicated. Attackers are using credentials. Attackers are making use of tools that are inside customer estates. And just from a security landscape perspective, the variety of attacks and the skill set of attackers is only increasing. That is one small bucket of obviously what you guys are having to monitor and look at when it comes down to being that trusted security advisor and that managed service provider to your customers. Because your customers are looking at different things as well. Yes, security is a really important thing for them. Or if not, you guys hopefully are advocating that security is a really important thing for them. But there's more to it, right? Customers are being pulled in so many different directions, and there's so much going on in that sort of business environment and that business landscape that only compounds that security issue. So regulatory compliance is only ever increasing. People are chasing ISO 27001. People are chasing cyber essentials. People are chasing GDPR compliance or SOC 2 compliance. People are chasing PCI DSS. If they operate in Europe, they now need to have NIS 2. And all of these things have to be looked at alongside security. Yes, some things cross over. But if a customer's coming to you and saying, well, how do I meet this compliance? You need to understand what tools and what tool sets you've got. And MDR a lot of the time can fill in some of those gaps. It's not a panacea. It's not a golden bullet. It's not going to come along and say, oh, this customer is now completely NIS 2 compliant because of Sophos. But if you look at things like PCI DSS, where logs need to be retained, logs need to be investigated, any sign of breach or unexpected access needs to be investigated, that's where these MDR solutions come in as well. Cyber insurance as well, really big change in the market. Cyber insurers are becoming less and less willing to take customers without hefty premiums unless they've got MDR solutions in place, unless they've got managed services and SOC solutions. So if a customer's coming to you and just saying, well, my insurance premium's gone up 200%, take a look. Are they doing managed services? Are they doing 24/7 monitoring? And the biggest thing really, and I think it's not really sort of an MDR thing, but it's very much a Sophos thing that we focused on, is trust. So you talk to consumers and you look across customers and you look across obviously some of the big things that have happened in the last year where cybersecurity providers have unfortunately been involved in some significant sort of global downtime and global outages and global sort of data loss. Trust is a real big issue. And it's something we focused on significantly. We've got a dedicated area of our website, which is purely down to us being as transparent as possible. So sharing all of our regulations, sharing our testing methodologies, sharing how we meet compliance. So if you've got customers coming to you and saying, right, I need a cybersecurity provider, I don't know who to trust, I need to make sure that they're going to do best by me. So we've got your back for that. There's a load of resources that we can make available to you guys to make sure that that is covered. And we're one of the only vendors to be that transparent. If we step back to security, and we don't worry about all that compliance and insurance stuff and the other 80% that customers are struggling with, and we just purely look at the security side of this, the scope and scale of what a customer or an MSP or a SOC has to manage now is crazy. If you think pre-COVID, we're very much on the left-hand side of this. We're in that physical network, and I appreciate some businesses are now getting back to business as usual as office-based organizations. But traditionally, your perimeter was a stone wall or a brick wall around that organization. You had all your security solutions in place, you had all your servers and endpoints in place, your email was all internal, you had a sort of physical attack surface and a physical perimeter that you could manage. And then when COVID hit, when the pandemic sent everyone home, customers and companies had to suddenly stress and suddenly rush to distribute everything. So suddenly users were taking endpoints home. So rather than an endpoint being behind your business grade, multiple £1,000 firewall, that corporate device was suddenly behind some Netgear router or something with a very low-end firewall and low-end security monitoring. So VPN things were put in place. People were looking at how they could shift resources to the cloud and put things like SASE and ZTNA in to control access to those. But then your attack surface is suddenly jumped into cloud. There's workloads in Azure and AWS. Email is suddenly being hosted in a different platform. Firewalls are being hosted internally, externally, cloud-based, you name it. And you're suddenly having to look at an attack surface that is just significantly bigger. So not only are you looking at user devices in multiple geolocations, but you're also looking at cloud. Unless you or a partner you're working with or a provider like Sophos is monitoring every single one of these pieces, there's going to be gaps in security. So it could be that you're monitoring endpoints that are inside the perimeter and there's an endpoint solution on the end user's devices. Great. You're going to see if something is interacting with those devices. It may be that you're monitoring an internal email server, but you've got a hybrid setup to 365, but that customer's only got E1 licensing or business premium licensing, or not even that. So the security that you've maybe got internally on your on-premise Exchange server or the customer's on-premise Exchange server is probably significantly higher than what you have in Microsoft land, for example, due to, again, license sprawl, too many platforms to monitor, too many solutions to worry about. And actually seeing what's going on at any given time and working out where that all fits together is the key issue we see, not only just with managed providers like yourselves trying to do this on behalf of your customers, but also customers themselves, even large enterprise organizations that we operate with, them being able to see exactly what's happening across their entire estate and actually make sense of it and have the people to do it, because people are still incredibly expensive when it comes to security. It's impossible. And that's what we've tried to do with MDR, crystallize all of that so that if you guys are operating on behalf of your customers, we can make sure that you're already told about the stuff you really need to worry about. And that's what we do with MDR. So we monitor across multiple different event sources across a customer's estate, everything from endpoint, which can be Sophos or can be third party. If you've got customers that operate in Defender land, so they've got those high level Microsoft licenses, or they made a significant investment in Microsoft due to COVID, and obviously some of the quite inviting Microsoft licensing things they did recently. Third-party firewalls, Sophos firewalls, email solutions like Proofpoint, Mimecast, obviously our own. You can see there are a few different categories. We'll touch on this a little bit later. We monitor all of these and collect security events from every single one of these. We often get told, oh, well, you're a SIM then. No, not really. So a SIM is going to be taking unstructured log data. It's going to be taking raw log data out of these potential security solutions and other platforms, is hopefully going to do some processing on it, and it's probably going to present it in a dashboard. Maybe it's going to raise some cases, but unlike a SIM, we don't have what's normal. We don't have to be tuned. We don't have that massive haystack of events and unstructured data, because we're taking qualified security events from these. So from a Sophos endpoint, we're taking security events. From a telemetry standpoint, we're taking events and telemetry and user behavior that we know is related to MITRE attack techniques, or we know is actually related to a known threat. From a firewall, we're not taking device metrics. We don't care how hot the CPU core is within that firewall, but what we care about is there's an unprotected ATP event or a Cobalt Strike beacon going out to the internet that the firewall has seen but has not blocked. And that's what we do. We pull together the events from all these different event sources. So say we see an authentication for a user's device after 14 failed logon attempts. You look at those individual events, it looks like it's just a unique login or a login failure. You look at those as a story, as a picture, and that suddenly looks like a brute force attempt or a credential stuffing attempt. The same way we see a strange authentication in cloud. We see a strange authentication in cloud with unexpected user strings. That looks like potentially it's a stolen session token, or it's cookie theft, or maybe it's a golden ticket attack or something like that, depending on where the authentication is in the Microsoft security layer. All of these things build out a picture, and we can start to understand and get some context as to what's going on. So that user fails to log in, then succeeds. Looks like a brute force. We also see from your email solution that user had a failed phishing attempt. Maybe there's and we can see that there was an attachment on that phishing email. We can see via the firewall, where is that user logging in from? Is it a VPN connection? Is it an RDS connection? Do we have a potential credential theft here or credential breach? Do we have a potential malicious email in the business that we then need to go and deal with? And we pull all of that disparate and individual data points together into one case. We map it to MITRE. We make sure it's on an understandable schema for our analysts. And then we then drop that to an analyst as a case. And that analyst goes in and investigates and is actually going to go and do some response against that as well. And generally, our response time is pretty good. So our average response time is 38 minutes. Meaning we see a case generated within a minute. All of that stuff we talked about on the previous slide, we see that within the SOC platform in a minute. We are then going to go and do a full investigation. We're going to look at open source intelligence. We're going to go and look at our own threat intelligence from Sophos Labs, threat research team. We're going to understand the full scope and context of what's going on, and we're then going to go and respond to that threat. Meaning if we need to go and take access of a device and do remediation tasks, we can. If we need to operate via you guys and come to you as the trusted advisor and say, this customer's under attack, here's what we need to do, we can do that. The way that we handle this is very much controlled by you. So depending on how you guys are scaling up your potential managed services or your SOC services, if you're starting to think about how you can wrap those up for your customers, you could operate this in a Sophos model. So, hi, Mr. Customer, you're buying Sophos MDR via us. Therefore, they are aware that Sophos is taking actions. We could either take actions directly, or if you've got a frontline support team, we can operate via that frontline support team as well. So you guys can still be that mouthpiece. Similarly, if you want to sort of quasi-white label this, you could say that this is Acme MSP MDR. You set up your contacts within Sophos to only be your team. All we're going to do is contact you. We might still take actions, but everything that we do is going to come to you guys so that you can vet it, you guys can phrase it, and you guys being those technical experts and those trusted advisors to your customers can then go to your customer and say, hello, Mr. Customer, our SOC service, our SOC team saw this happen. We've taken action. It's resolved. Here are some next steps. Let's advise, let's consult, let's put some additional solutions in place to make sure this never happens again. And you guys can then handle that root cause mitigation as well. As I mentioned, we integrate with a number of different solutions, and we categorize these across a number of different packs, a number of different groupings of security tools. So first and foremost, everything Sophos, of course, we're going to integrate with. So Sophos Endpoint, Sophos Mobile, Sophos Firewall, Sophos Email, Sophos Cloud, or Cloud Optics, and then our own network solutions as well. But across these groups, we also populate them with a number of the key other vendors on the market. These slides are, this slide changes every day, so unfortunately it's slightly out of date. So backup and recovery, we also have Acronis, and we have Commvault and Rubrik coming. Network, we also have, Firewall, we also have Unify, and we've got other vendors as well. The most up-to-date listing of this is on the Sophos website, but any vendor realistically in those sort of top top 20% of vendors that operate, those business industry leaders, but there's a good chance we're going to integrate with them. And that means we can pull those security events in from those third parties and bring it into that mixing pot of events to correlate and understand what's going on. This is available to all of our MSP customers. So an MSP customer can effectively, on one day, decide they're going to plug their FortiGate firewalls into MDR, and it's just done. It gets included in the next billing cycle, and we charge on a per pack basis. So we don't need to know that a customer is using a Cisco or a customer is using a FortiGate. All we care about is that they have that pack, and that is how we bill. That is how we license. We do it via a pack level, and it's charged on usage again. So you have a customer with 200 seats, and they start consuming firewall data. We're going to charge them on their monthly as normal as a 200-seat firewall integration pack customer. If you guys need more information on how that all breaks down and what that looks like from a financing perspective, obviously speak to TD Synex, speak to the MSP team at Sophos. We can make sure we give you guys some good breakdowns for that. That being said, a chunk of this stuff is included. So if you've got a customer who's heavily into Microsoft, their emails through Microsoft, their endpoints through Microsoft, their cloud platforms through Microsoft, and obviously they're using Microsoft 365 for productivity, it's included. It's included in the base license cost of MDR, meaning they can integrate all of those Microsoft pieces, so Defender Threat Graph and audit logs and all this stuff into the solution without having to worry about any additional monthly costs on top of the base cost of the license. Again, there's obviously a bit of a pricing waltz to do when it comes down to these things. Reach out to TD Synex, reach out to the MSP team at Sophos, and we can make sure there's some clear breakdowns as to how this all fits together. Speaking of Microsoft, I'm sure the majority of you have got customers that are utilizing Microsoft more than they ever were sort of 5-10 years ago. Mostly down to the fact that the movement to cloud and some of Microsoft's quite aggressive licensing made it fairly easy for customers to do so. What we've seen from other MSPs I've spoken to when I've delivered this or a similar presentation at community events and MSP forums is that the vast majority of customers that you guys are utilizing with Microsoft licensing probably have the business licenses. They have business basic, business standard, business premium, maybe E1, maybe E3 at most. You may have some that had a bit of leftover budget. They bought some of the plan twos and things like Azure Sentinel and stuff like that. What this means, and anyone who's dealt with Microsoft licensing will also love and hate this licensing matrix as much as I do. What that means is that there's a significant chunk of customers that don't actually have the highest security licensing from Microsoft. Unless you have E5, you do not have, or your customers do not have, the vast majority of the Microsoft telemetry or the vast majority of the Microsoft security solutions. And that's a real challenge because we integrate with Microsoft in two ways. So we take the Graph Security API, which is Microsoft's opinion of security events. It utilizes the Defender licensings that the customer might have. And if they don't have that licensing in place, there are significant gaps in the data we receive down that pipe. If you look at a business standard customer, so business standard, business premium, probably the majority of customers we deal with, especially on the MSP programs, they don't have the vast majority of the Defender licensing. Only business premium has Defender for endpoint properly. And none of those have Entra. None of those have Entra ID protection or any of the sort of high quality identity-based alerts. And that's a real challenge because if we're trying to protect a customer and we're saying, yep, we're monitoring everything or we're monitoring what's going on from an authentication perspective, and the customer doesn't have those licenses in place, it means we've got significant gaps in the security we can provide. And often customers won't realize this, that have been sold by Microsoft the licensing that they've got. They've obviously afforded what they can, but they aren't aware that there are those gaps in security. And that's why we have this top green line, this secondary way that we integrate with Microsoft called the Management Activity API. For anyone who knows Microsoft, it's also called the Unified Audit Log within the Microsoft platform. And it fits into some of the auditing stuff as well within Microsoft. This is available to every single Microsoft license regardless. So business basic all the way up to E5. And this means that we can take a completely raw feed of data from those audit logs, and we can make our own decisions and have our own opinions where Microsoft are not doing those licenses. So if you look at a business standard customer, from the graph security perspective, we're seeing incredibly little. But from the Management Activity API perspective, we're getting user authentications, we're getting users being created, we're getting everything from emails, we're getting new mailboxes being created, we're getting suspicious sign-ons and things like that. And we've built out a significant chunk of our own rules, meaning we can take Microsoft's opinion of that data, if they have it, and we can use that. In situations where we don't have that Microsoft opinion, we don't have those graph security licenses, and we have unified audit log, we've got business standard customers where we've been able to do business email compromise investigations. We've got customers with E3 who don't have Entra Plan 2, don't have those high quality events out of Entra, and we've been able to do suspicious logins. We've been able to do stolen session tokens. And unless, again, someone has visibility over all these things, a customer's cloud platform, a customer's Microsoft's tenancy, especially if they're using things like hybrid AD or Entra AD, can be massively insecure, which is why we offer this for free, because we want customers to utilize this. And it's also an added benefit that if you've got customers who have made significant investment in Microsoft, you'll be hard pressed to find another MDR vendor that actually does this and then goes and offers response as well. If you look at Huntress, you look at Arctic Wolf, yes, they'll take in some of this data, but they aren't going to do anything about it. They're just going to contact you guys and say, there's a risk, there's a breach, go and deal with it. Now, that's obviously a lot for you guys to take to your customers and explain. And that's obviously a lot to understand if there's more business people in the room that obviously are less technical. So we've always thought about how we break this down. Hopefully you guys recognize this me. We've looked at how we break this down, how we can explain this in a really compelling way to not only our MSPs like yourselves, but also the customers at the end of the phone, at the end of the day, who actually need this explained to them and need to understand what is going on. And if we were all sat in a room, or we were all sat in a lecture theatre and we were doing this face to face, I would call one of you up and I would stick a box of Lego in front of you and say, right, build this. I would then swiftly take away the box and take away the instructions and leave you to build this out. And that's sort of what it's like if you're dealing with a security incident or you're dealing with a security investigation. And it's the most compelling way we've found to break this down really to nuts and bolts for customers to understand at the end of the day. So effectively, if you've got a SIM in place, or you've got some sort of log retention or log collection tool, or using Azure Sentinel as part of a sort of managed SIM SOC solution, what you've got at the end of the day, when an incident happens, when an attack starts, is data. You've got a bundle of Lego bricks. You've just got that raw hodgepodge of data in front of you, and you need to understand the scope and the context of this. So say one of your customers is logged in and they can't get onto their ERP server. That's all they've told you. They've come to you and they said, we can't log on, we can't get to our ERP server. What's going on? Help us. You then have to try and understand what's happening in this data to work out what the hell's gone on. So you often find that customers will try and sort the data, same way if they're building that Lego piece from scratch. They'll try and break that data into interesting pieces, and that's where potentially you've got a bundle of firewall data, or you've got a load of endpoint events, or you've got a load of authentication events. And actually breaking that data down into some sort of compelling or some sort of understandable sorting mechanism can take a significant amount of time. Bearing in mind your customers or you as the service provider are probably getting contacted constantly by users saying, well, where's my finance data? It's payroll. We need to, it's payroll season. We need to actually go and raise wage slips. We can't do wage slips. Oh, hang on. No, we think some data might have been stolen. So we need to do a GDPR request to the ICO. Oh, wait, no, hang on. I can't get onto this now. Oh, I need to do this. It's business critical. The CEO can't access their laptop. All of this stuff's going on in the background. And while the IT administrator, or obviously yourselves as the managed provider, is trying to fit this all together, there's thousands of other distractions that you guys are having to deal with. So we find customers will try and sort the data. They'll also try and arrange it in ways that make sense. So do we try and start connecting the dots? Do we start looking at endpoint data together? Do we start looking at firewalls data if we have that ability? If you look at a customer just with core MDR, or just maybe with a SIM solution, it maybe they've plumbed everything in, but they haven't connected firewall, or from a Sophos perspective, they haven't purchased a firewall pack, meaning potentially this entire blue section in the middle is missing. So there's a significant chunk of data that's missed. And the really important thing, and the real difficult thing for anyone who's gone through an incident or an incident response process, is working out which of this smattering of data is actually important. Because you can sort it into its component parts. You can arrange it so that you try and make some sense of it. You can try and present it in a dashboard and try and work out what goes on between it and the sort of rules and how these things will fit together. But you need a starting point. It may be that one of those bricks is an Entra ID event. One of those bricks is an endpoint event. They've come from completely different components and completely different parts. So you can sort them, but actually building the relationship between them and actually ending up with a compelling story is the real challenge here. Anyone can say select all endpoint events and filter. Build a dashboard on this. These things are useful, but unless you actually understand the relationships and the context and the correlation, and unless you've got those Lego instructions in front of you, it's almost impossible to understand a security incident without having that technology and that team behind you. So in this scenario, obviously, there's been a breach, there's been an attack. Data has been extracted to be able to do an instant response. And we built a house. We've explained it with a story. We've understood what happened. But that when you actually take a look back at it, and it may be that they've got to the end of building that house and explaining that story and realizing that first brick of data, that first thing they started investigating was a false positive. So the entire story then collapses because rather than building a house, they should have been building a car. And this is really where MDR comes in. So we've got those Lego instructions. We understand what threat actors do. We've got 30 years of experience of working in the cybersecurity estate. We've got over 500,000 customers who we monitor every single day for things going on. All the telemetry from those customers ends up in Sophos labs. All of the telemetry from all of those customers, from us as the biggest security provider on the planet, end up in MDR, meaning we've got a whole load of instruction manuals for these stories. So if we see something that maps to a certain MITRE technique, we can understand the context of that single event incredibly quickly. We can understand, yep, that's an administrator, nothing malicious. Let's throw that out with the Lego pile because it really doesn't matter for this. Equally, we can look at it and go, yep, that maps to this MITRE address. We've seen it used in these 500 attacks globally. We know that this technique is a qualified threat. Let's look at other things that relate to it. Let's build up that context. Let's build up that correlation and make sure that at the end of the day, we have the right story. So taking a step back from sort of the analogy, if you guys don't already offer SOC services or SOC solutions or managed MDR solutions or whatever you want to call it, you do now. Partnering with Sophos, partnering with TD, you can effectively click a button and offer a SOC service. It's entirely frictionless to set up. If you've got a current Sophos customer, it's 2 clicks of a button. If you've got a non-Sophos customer, it's a very simple deployment to get MDR in place. And this means that you can then go and compete with managed SOC providers and MSPs, and you can start to compete with some of those larger termed partners who have been obviously offering services like this for a significant amount of time, because you don't necessarily need to upskill or upstaff. If you've got a frontline security operations team, we'll operate through those, and we'll do all of the technical work on the back end to make sure that your customers are secure. If you've got those discrete customers who manage their own IT or their own security bases, great. We can contact with them directly if you want us to, or again, we can still operate it through you as that filtering third party. When we talk to MSPs about this and we start to present this and we start to show them the options available to them, a lot of the stuff we get saying is, well, how do I get my customers interested? How do I explain to them that this is something important, this is something they need? And it all harkens back to that security landscape. It's something that I'm happy to say when talking to customers and MSPs. A lot of them have changed their perspective. It used to be, oh, we're never going to get hit, we're too small. Oh, we're never going to get breached, we're not important enough. And now talking to customers, it's pivoted quite a lot towards customers saying, well, it's not if we get hit, it's very much when. And that's very much what we're seeing in the market. Everyone has the same level of risk to get hit, whether you're a multinational enterprise or a high street dentist with 2 users. Everyone is just as at risk as everyone else because attackers are opportunist. Yes, you hear those big structured attacks like Crimson Palace, and obviously the attack we had against ourselves for the firewalls in the last 10 years. But then you also have 5 user customers calling up our instant response desk and saying, well, we've been hacked, we've lost everything. And this can be business ending if they don't have something in place to deal with it. So how can we help you, and how can you generate more MDR adoption? Get confident in telling this, in storytelling these cybersecurity incidents and talking about the threat landscape. So a big thing we hear as well, across the news, we hear about multinational conglomerate being hit by ransomware, which is great, but it doesn't resonate, it doesn't echo well with small businesses. So try and get some real life experience and real life stories from either other customers you've got that have been hit, or join webinars through TD and Sophos. If you ever get a chance to sit on a webinar or go to a presentation with Peter McKenzie, who's our incident response director, he has some great war stories for small businesses, so that you can then go out into your customers and you can enunciate and you can explain that to them. Because the reality is SMBs are a massive target, primarily because an attacker knows if they're dealing with a 5 user business, that event could be end of life for that business. Also, insurance and compliance is only ever going to get more compelling. So insurance premiums are only ever going to go up. Insurance companies are having to pay out more for breaches. So you can help your customers who are saying, oh, well, this is exponentially increasing. Implement MDR, implement 24/7 security. That can help with security premiums. So make sure that customers are aware that, look, you do have options to reduce those insurance overheads. And those options are MDR, managed services. And also co-sell with us and with TD SYNNEX. So if you've got large discrete opportunities that you want some more clout behind, reach out to the guys at TD, reach out to the MSP team at Sophos. We will come on those calls and we will help you. The same way, if you're doing webinars for your customers, speak to TD, see if we can bring in either technical resources from TD or from Sophos. We will run webinars for you guys and we'll make sure that we can contribute to those. Same as if you've got a large customer event for a large customer base, reach out. There's things that us and TD can do to support you guys and assist in those marketing opportunities and those marketing events as well. Another thing we hear back from customers is, or from partners is, I've been talking to my customers and they're not interested. They don't want MDR. You can do some very light things to make sure that customers start to think a bit more about, hang on, maybe this partner is actually got my best interests at heart. So opt out, lead with MDR and say, look, this is what we're offering. This is what we recommend for all of our customers, and make them have to opt out if they don't want it. Make sure you're wording it as it's a recommended or a suggested service. Maybe put some formal acknowledgement in place and say, yeah, okay, that's fine, but you need to sign this saying that you have gone against our advice, and that if you get hit, if you get breached, there's little we can do because we don't have MDR, we don't have a managed solution on the background helping. Make sure this is documented to limit your liability, because again, if you guys are listed as their MSP, they believe that you are the be-all and end-all of their IT security, and they've opted out of the solution that makes your lives easier. Make sure that it's documented. Make sure it's in your terms of service. Make sure that your customers are aware that without taking up this managed solution, your abilities to respond and to assist them, albeit much better than them doing it themselves, are still going to be severely limited. And also make sure that you've got this as part of customer contracts. Make sure you've got Zoom meetings and recording these things happening, so that if a customer comes to you over the back end, you can say, sorry. We do also have an instant response retainer. I haven't got slides for it. I wasn't going to go too deep into it, where you can say to your customers, okay, you've opted out. Great, let's put this retainer in place so that if something does happen, you've still got an instant response team. It's $3 a device a year, so it's incredibly cheap. And it also then leverages some instant response discounts if a customer needs it. You could put that on everything. We've had MSPs that have wanted to do it as an opt-out. Say, look, you've opted out of MDR. Let's put a retainer in place. It's $3 a device, and that's going to give you instant access to instant response if you need it. And on the topic of instant response, if you guys don't offer an instant response service, again, you do now. So you can contact our instant response team. We brand it as Rapid Response. Any time of the day, any day of the week, any holiday, whatever. If you've got a customer that is under attack, or you've got someone who's come to you, not even maybe as if they're your customers, so a complete new logo opportunity for you guys, And if I'm under attack, I've seen you on the internet, I need help, you can forward them on to us. We will do instant response for those customers. You guys still get margin on that. And we can then work with you guys to bring that customer into MDR off the back of that instant response engagement, and make sure that going forward, you guys have got, again, an even more secure and even stronger customer base. So just to echo what I said earlier on, and obviously what Sean and Brandon have covered, if you need anything from any of us, reach out. We're all here to support you guys. The joy of the MDR, the joy of the MSP business is you guys make our business work. You are the biggest growth area within Sophos, as Tim's going to cover very shortly. But work with us. We're here to help you. If you win, we win, and we're all on this together. And to facilitate that, I'm going to hand over to Tim, who is just going to spend a bit of time running through what the sort of MSP journey and what it looks like for MSPs at Sophos to transact and work with us going forward. So over to you, Tim.
Thanks as always, Bradley. Great information that you've covered there. So just a quick introduction to myself and how it is that we can enable the MSP journey that you might be looking to continue or make a start within. So I'm part of the Sophos MSP team. I have been for the last 2 years, and the last 20 years before that have been spent in the IT channel. I've worked at different roles across resellers, MSPs, distribution, and also vendors, and all of that's been based heavily around cyber security. So it's nice to be able to take all of that, all those years of learning, and bring that into something that we can share with partners when it comes to identifying the right sort of tools, services, and products that can be built to deliver as managed services. So what we're keen to look at here today is how it is that the service can be provided when it comes to our MSP program and what's available to you as partners. So let's have a little look at the team. I'm part of a growing team that's led by Scott Tyson, and we've been working with partners to really make use of the full Sophos platform that's available. Now that Sophos platform and the MSP Flex program is not new. Catches a lot of people by surprise that this is around 8 years in the making. So join us on a journey that might be new to you, but not new to us when we start looking at the ways in which we can engage with you. Teams across different countries to give you that localized support and be part of that enablement within your teams, and also instructions with any customers that you might be talking to. Now, when you start looking at the platform that's available from Sophos, there are a number of ways in which you can start or continue the journey with us and with you as a partner, all supported with our engagement with TD. And it's making sure that you understand what part of the portfolio is really key to you and your customers, because there's so many moving parts to any of the services that you might be looking to provide to your customers. So making sure that you've got all of these in place and making sure you've got access to the right teams in the right way is part of the conversations that we have with many people. But just as a quick overview here, when it comes to the adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem that Sophos offer, it's underpinned heavily by that data lake. We're collecting all of those logs, all of that data, and then our threat intelligence team are then delving into that and using that for the threat hunting that is needed to identify where those security challenges lie within your customers' environments. This provides a really high level of detailed reporting that our threat hunters rely upon to identify where those security threats are really coming from and the damage that's likely to have been caused before they've been correctly identified. But when you start to look at what we can then do with that intelligence, and we can then take a look at all of the different reports that come, the different information that's collected, you can decide how that's managed. Now, there's a huge big chunk here of different products and different services and different solutions across multiple different environments that need to be taken into consideration when you're looking at the level of service that is available. And yes, Bradley did point out that Sophos provide a number of these areas that integrate straight into that managed detection and response service, but you can also integrate with those third-party tools. And then you decide how you wish to manage via your own teams, if you've got your own level of 24/7, 365 response in place, or via the Sophos MDR team. And that choice is there for you to make. It's not a one size fits all. It's available for you to be flexible to meet the requirements of your customers. So how does the MSP Flex program work? It's self-service. It's been designed for you to be able to access the products that you require for your customers as and when you need them. You go into your central partner dashboard, you create your customer, and then you start to align the products to that customer that you would like them to be able to access. The benefit here, though, is it's not until you actually deploy and activate those licenses that they start counting towards your billable usage. So again, gives you that flexibility to get started and gives you the ability to deploy what's needed for your customers. Then have different categories that are available. It might be that endpoint is the focus for you, users in the way in which you're looking after them is more of your day-to-day business. So we can help you build through the licensing program to benefit your aggregated billing across that. For example, one of the tricks that's available to an MSP partner is when you're looking at your user licenses, we categorize all of those into one bracket. So if you were to take a customer that's got 10 users, for example, you want to deploy endpoint, use our Sixer, you want to use email protection, and then you'd like to use some of the device encryption. That actually calculates for that 10 user as 30 users. So very quickly, we'll be able to take you through those band discounts that are a key part to this program that allows you to see very quickly a discount on the licenses that you're using and a reward back for your customers' commitment to your services and the products. We then can add devices and we can then add servers and also include the cloud environments. Now, MDR is part of the MSP Flex offering. So all of the things that Bradley has been discussing is available for you to access with ease of licenses, no minimum commitment, no minimum upfront cost. So it gives you an easy way to identify how this can be used across your customers. And then we get into the details that we've discussed. Bradley's gone into some great detail earlier on how we're working with MSPs to help identify those discussion points and where those discussions can be taken. What we tend to see with a lot of companies at the moment is that, yes, they're trying to build MDR into their services. A lot of discussions around SIEM, around SOC are becoming areas of review for businesses. Challenges are being faced with compliance or insurance needs. So how do we pick from that the right conversations to have? Well, it's very key for you as that MSP to really understand how much disruption could be caused on your customers' environments, the cost of change, how that's going to be built, and then the ongoing need to review or respond to any of those alerts that can become very noisy from all of these different tools that are available within the market. And then it's understanding how fast the response can be within your own teams to deal, your customers' teams to deal, and then that third-party integration, such as the MDR service from Sophos. And once you've pulled all of those pieces together, you really then need to identify and really have 100% confidence in where that service would start and stop, where your team need to be involved, and what sort of information is then coming from that MDR service to hand over to yourself for your teams to manage or to work with the customers to really understand what's going on. So I just want to wrap up now with a couple of examples of the support tools that are available to you as an MSP partner with Sophos. Heading over to the partner portal, you have dedicated MSP categories. You can go into the MSP category, you can see the pre-recorded content that's available, the updated reports from our business to identify the talking points that can be used, and then the management of your customers and their environments from this point. It also includes a lot of ready-to-use tools that are available for you. You can take these, you can brand them, you can use them to educate your teams internally and also your customers that you might be speaking to. We also want to help you that little bit further with taking that message out to your customers. Within that same partner portal, you have access to ready-built MDR messaging that you can take, use, and share with those customers. That campaign across 4 weeks to take a message to a company that might be unaware of your services or unaware of the need to review these with you, right the way through to that stage of getting those ready for assessing your services and quotation. Many resources that are available, these can be shared via the links so that you can see the assets that can be used and the different types of tools that are already built for you to take this message out to your customers and really identify how this can fit into the services that you offer. And just to finalize the piece that I wanted to raise awareness on, again, if this is new to you and you want to start the journey with Sophos, please head over to sophos.com/MSP. You can register, you can access a number of these resources that we've already discussed, or if you're an existing partner, again, you'd like to take advantage of the MSP program, head over to the same address. Take a look at the resources that are available for you and reach out to a member of the team, either here at Sophos or also at TD SYNNEX. I'd like to just take the time to thank you for listening to that short overview of how we can provide those services to you as a partner. I'll hand back to Sean to close.
Thanks very much, Tim, and thanks Bradley and Brandon as well. Really appreciate your time today, and I'm sure all our partners that have joined us today have taken something away. Quick thank you to all our partners as well. Appreciate you've all got busy schedules, so appreciate your time jumping on. Like I said, really hope you've taken something away from today. We will be contacting each and every one of our partners that have joined to see what your plans are for going into the next Sophos financial year, to see what support that the TD and Sophos teams can support you with on your MSP journeys. So if you want to reach out to us before then, feel free. But like I said, we will contact you. So until then, goodbye and thanks for joining us.